Marcus Licinius Crassus, like Pompeius Magnus and Lucullus, rose under the umbrella of Sulla's success. Having lost his father and brother to the violent purge through which Gaius Marius, using his Greek killing squad, had put the city, Crassus was viewed as potentially vengeful by the Marians. Soon after the death of Gaius Marius in 86 BC, the remaining consul, Cinna, ordered the proscription of any who had supported Sulla's first invasion of Rome back in 87 BC. Crassus was added to Cinna's list. In order to avoid capture and death, Marcus Licinius Crassus fled to Spain, where he recruited legions from his father's clientele. Though he did not command a full-strength army, Crassus held sufficient forces to extort money from the Spanish tribes between the years of 87 BC and 84 BC. Next, Crassus journeyed with his small force to Africa, where he joined Metellus Pius, who was at that time fighting the Marians on behalf of Sulla. Unfortunately, Crassus and Pius did not get along, and so Crassus left Africa and sailed for Greece, where Sulla, himself, was engaged in the war against Mithridates. Crassus remained with Sulla throughout the latter's eastern campaign against Mithridates, and then returned to Italy alongside him, in order to take the city of Rome back from the Marians. After the armies of Sulla, combined with that of Crassus, Lucullus, and Metellus Pius, were joined by the 3 legions raised by the young Pompeius, Sulla was ready for war. During the Battle of the Colline Gate, Crassus, who manned Sulla's right flank, held for most of the day, finally defeating the Marian left flank. When he sent word to Sulla informing him of his success, Sulla ordered him to continue on towards the center, eventually helping to solidify Sulla's left flank, which had been nearly lost. Though the battle raged through the entire night, by the time the sun rose, Sulla was master of Rome. With the conservatives now in control of Rome, Crassus turned his attention to rebuilding his family's lost fortunes, confiscated by the Marian, Cinna administration. Crassus invested his tremendous campaign earnings into properties auctioned off during Sulla's proscriptions. In this way, he acquired so much property that few people in Rome did not pay their rents to Crassus. He next began investing in properties of the Suburra. He both built and replaced damaged real estate with substandard materials so they could go up faster and more quickly filled with renters. Crassus also created Rome's first fire brigade, though he did not use this service as we would expect today. When a building in the Suburra erupted into flames, Crassus and his fire brigade rushed to the site. There, Crassus would immediately negotiate terms of sale with the building's owner. If the owner refused to sell the property, Crassus turned his brigade around and left the building owner to fend for himself. If the owner of the burning building agreed to sell, Crassus had his men immediately begin fighting the fire. This might be the origins of our slang term, fire sale, in which sale of goods are negotiated against the backdrop of a company's destruction. Through his multiple investments and business dealings, and his ability to offer high-interest loans, Crassus became Rome's main real estate tycoon. But he still itched to climb the cursus honorum and restore his family's lost political clout. Unfortunately, real estate was far less noble than farming, and least likely to earn him election to any office, especially when many voters thought of him as a slumlord. Fortunately for Crassus, Pompeius Magnus had already proven that it was possible to buy position with might. And Crassus had might of a financial nature. All he needed was a war of his own, which the end of the 73 BC year promised to deliver. In the province of Campania, in the town of Capua, a new threat blossomed, which Crassus watched with growing interest. A Thracian gladiator managed to escape from captivity, leading a small band of gladiators with him. We know little of this gladiator's true history, nor even his real name, but his stage name was Spartacus, and he had been the property of the house of Batiatus. The house of Batiatus was a gladiatorial combat school, called a ludus, which trained gladiators, and haggled over contracts against other ludi for the right to perform within Capua's great sports arena. Having coordinated with approximately 70 other gladiators and slaves belonging to Batiatus, Spartacus managed to escape his confines. The group then rampaged the streets of Capua, where they raided homes, farms, and villas. They stole weapons, murdered the city's inhabitants, and freed their slaves. With quickly increasing numbers, Spartacus withdrew his forces to the slopes of Mount Vesuvius, from where he might hold a defensible position against the Roman attack he was sure would come. A local praetor by the name of Claudius Glaber quickly gathered auxiliary forces in order to put down what he deemed nothing more than a band of rampaging brigands. Glaber marched his forces to the base of Mount Vesuvius where, knowing he had Spartacus's people trapped above, he planned simply to sit down and starve them out. But Spartacus and his men, having fashioned ropes from supplies, rappelled down the opposite side of Vesuvius. From there, they circled around and unexpectedly attacked Glaber's men from the rear. Claudius Glaber went down in defeat, and 3,000 of his men were killed at what is now known as the Battle of Mount Vesuvius. With Glaber's forces defeated, and no replacement army yet formed, Spartacus and his band of gladiators and slaves had the whole of Campania from which to increase their strength. From Nola all the way to the coastal town of Thrace, the rebel slaves ransacked towns, stole weapons, freed slaves, and continued killing Roman citizens. This would go on for the better part of the 73-72 BC winter. As news of Spartacus's victory at Mount Vesuvius spread across Italy, slaves began bolting from their owners, flocking to Spartacus en masse. Spartacus's growing numbers, which were estimated at approximately 150,000 people, necessitated the splitting of such a large army. Historians still debate the reasons for splitting. Some suggest it was a strategy, while others debate that a disagreement took place over whether to attack Rome or escape Italy altogether. Whatever the reasons, approximately 30,000 Gallic slaves broke off and followed one of Spartacus's commanders, a Gallic gladiator known as Crassus. Crassus led his forces southeast into the province of Apulia, or modern-day Puglia. This stretch of the peninsula, which contained Italy's heel, was ripe for plunder. In Rome, the Senate took the threat of Spartacus very seriously. Having heard that the army split, the Senate charged the consuls of the 72 BC year to end what was now dubbed the Third Servile War. The consul, Publicola, was tasked with marching legions to Apulia in order to take down Crassus, while the co-consul, Clodianus, was sent after Spartacus. In Apulia, Publicola enjoyed an early victory. At the base of Mount Gargano, 30,000 slaves, including Crassus, were massacred by the consul's legions. Publicola then turned his legions towards Campania, with plans of attacking Spartacus's rear while the gladiators' army was engaged in battle against Clodianus. But when Publicola arrived, Clodianus's army had already been defeated by Spartacus, who then turned around and laid waste to the army of Publicola. For their humiliating defeat, and the loss of 4 legions, both Publicola and Clodianus were recalled to Rome. There, the Senate formally stripped both consuls of their command. Almost immediately, the top ranks of the Senate began vying, bribing, and lobbying for command against the armies of Spartacus. Crassus, who could buy or sell almost anyone in the Senate, was chief among them. While the Senate campaigned for new commanders, Spartacus moved north in Italy. Reaching the Alps, he hoped to cross into Gaul and, from there, journey on to his homeland of Thrace. Longinus, who was governor of Cisalpine Gaul, attempted to defeat Spartacus at the Alps, but simply became another in Spartacus's growing list of victories. We still do not know why, but after defeating Longinus's army, Spartacus and his forces did not continue towards Thrace. Instead, they unexpectedly turned around again and retreated to the south of Italy. There is some speculation that he intended to rally and combine his forces with slaves from Sicily, who still suffered Rome's brutal distrust, left over from Sicily's Second Servile War. Because he promised the Senate that, at his own expense, he would raise, train, and equip an army large enough to bring down Spartacus, Marcus Licinius Crassus was unanimously awarded command against Rome's Third Servile War. For the Senate, Crassus was the risk-free choice. After all, if he failed, neither the Senate nor the treasury would suffer.